Recently, we had Chris Doe at our online conference, the dexp.academy. He helped us to answer the following questions. The first question we looked at was how to turn your client-based business model to an educational one. After that, he gave us some advices on how to engage, involve, and motivate participants over 3 months in a social impact accelerator program. Another question was how to find the inner strength to make bigger changes in your company as a CEO. And among other questions, we looked at what a difference it can make when you create a top-down versus a bottom-up vision statement for your company. And I am Daniel from the Lumen team. What I really appreciate about Chris is that he shares his knowledge and insights on various kind of topics so generously. I personally benefited big time of this, and that's why I was even more happy that he was at our conference. And now, enjoy the conversation.
Because I always thought if you hire the best people, you will therefore have the best company.
I want to start a little bit maybe with your story, because I think what's so amazing for me and for us, this is also a valid question. You know, a lot of us are running agencies like Gesa, you know, she's having 70 employees, you know, and I remember you telling the story at one point, you were kind of driving into your garage with your car. And there was this feeling, you know, do I want to get up? And also you had like this one, two, let's say calling points, you know, you've been teaching for 15 years. And now you're on this mission to teach like 1 billion people, you know, how to do what they love and make a living out of that. So can you tell us a little bit of running this, let's say, high profile agency and then really switching, like kind of disrupting your own business, you know, how did it happen? How did you make that transition? And then we open up the room later on.
Sure. The problem with running a creative service firm is initially you hire it because of talent. You hire people because they represent an amazing body of work, perspective, they have a lens, and you're not paying attention to the company culture and what's happening to the team. Because I always thought if you hire the best people, you will therefore have the best company. And people that are very talented, at least here in Los Angeles, they tend to come with a certain perspective, a sense of entitlement, a sense of control, and some of them brought a lot of drama with them. And we had a company full of these people, and I wasn't paying attention. One day I woke up and I realized this is a super, at least for me, a toxic place to work. And that working with clients is difficult enough, but when you're doing battles internally for resources, for attention, and there's just drama where none is needed, and that's when it culminated in this point in which I'm literally sitting in the parking lot. I've arrived at work, and I'm dreading going into the office, and I'm scanning around, looking at what cars are there because I know what car each person drives. And when I see certain cars there, I'm like, this heaviness that comes over me. And that's when I started to realize I have a company that I no longer want to be a part of. And I want to quit my own company. And I don't know how to move forward. And so I'm having these conversations with my business coach, and the business coach tells me, we got to work on a culture and we have to have core values. And I didn't know how to draft core values and how to write that, what it means to have something like that. I thought that was something that big corporations do, not a company with 20 people. It didn't seem to make sense, but I went through the difficult exercise, started to implement these things, and a year and a half later transformed the company. And I was surrounded by people that cared about me, that when I went away on a trip and I came back, they're all eagerly like greeting me and saying, "Oh my gosh, how was your trip? We missed you." And that family spirit was born, and it set the the road work, the path to transforming from blind to the future. It's because of these people that were there that we had shared values, belief systems, and ways of working.
And can you tell us a little bit about the process? Because I know for 1-2 agencies here around, they have this question, you know, you're successful in something that you do for years. You have a client base there. So this is a solid business that will pay the rent, of course. Yeah. And you have families, you know, and all this. And then going to that. So I know this has been a process. Like, can you tell us a little bit about the conversion, you know, of maybe your own belief system, maybe of your own operating model? How did you converse this? You know, what were the processes you were going through personally, maybe as an agency head? You know.
Yeah, you know, I think it was just my coach helping me to realize that I like to be around certain types of people. And when I struggled with writing, because it's like you have to know who you are, and there's a lot of self-awareness that has to happen. And I'm not that smart, so I'm like, I don't know, who am I? What is it that I believe in? And I tried over a couple of weekends. I sat there and I wrote things that just sounded like garbage. And so I'll tell you the hack. The hack is I just read a book and I love the core values from this book. And I thought, hey, this person went to Harvard. They're super successful. I will just steal them. I'm not going to just borrow them. I will just steal them. And the book that I read was Delivering Happiness, written by the late Tony Hsieh. And he's the founder of Zappos, sold his company to Amazon for $1 billion. And he went through a very similar arc. His first company sold for $140 million or something like that because he hated his own company. And he went through the exact same thing. I was just doing it on a much, much smaller scale. So they list their core values and I just copy pasted. I typed in the core values. I adjusted one or two so it sounded like us because they sell shoes and we don't sell shoes, you know, and we're doing B2B, they're doing B2C. And then I came in and I told my business coach, I did it. I wrote the core values and he's like, great, let me read them. And we read them together. And it's like, that sounds like you. And this sounds like the company you want to have. He said, good. I don't know why I tortured myself for weeks. I should have just found this book earlier. And the difficult work came afterwards, which was now how do we live these core values? Well, in the book and what my business coach Kier told me too was you have to be able to hire and fire people based on this. So I gathered my entire team together. We had a staff meeting, including my New York office, who called in through remote conferencing. And he said, here's the thing. I want to live these values. I'm going to explain them to you. You have every single person here. You have an opportunity to stay with the company, but we're no longer going to welcome behavior that falls outside of these principles. And it's going to be a painful process. I want you all to look around this room. Not everybody that's here today will be here when this is all done. So what happened was immediately it sent signals to people in the office that the company is changing, that I'm going to actually live by these words. And some people quit almost immediately. Some people took a lot longer to quit because they wanted to find their next job. And that's okay because I'm not here to push anyone out. I don't want to wake up one day and arbitrarily make these kind of decisions and then people find that they're in a panic situation. I'm not trying to do that. So the entire process took about 1.5 years to go through. Some changes happened immediately. The hard ones, the ones that were not living the values, but did not see it to themselves to like leave the company, I had to then ask them to leave. We call this firing, but I had to say, like, it's no longer working. I just don't think this is a good fit for both of us. I wish you the best. And those are the last people. And it hurt a lot of my personal relationships, I have to tell you, because this is the problem when you have a small company. You know people, they've been to your homes, you go out, you hang out, you do things together. But some of them just didn't want to conform. They were the ones that creating a lot of negative energy in the company. And so unfortunately, I lost some friends in the process, and that's why it's difficult to being the CEO. You have to make the tough decisions.